Okay. Well, how was your break? Y'all went to Gatlinburg, didn't you? How was that?
That was fun.
Yeah. What'd you get to do?
We went to Dollywood and we went to a bunch of like concerts and stuff. So that was cool.
Who'd you get to see?
Kroger.
And Wilson.
Not
and
Lecrae. Okay.
There were a bunch of good like Christian speakers there.
I think he's supposed to be there next year.
Lecrae is? That's what you want to go see,
I
right?
think he's doing this
Winter Jam? Y'all gonna go to that?
I think the guy on the side they might go.
Where would that be?
Birmingham.
I think that's what he's
Oh, okay. Totally doable then. If it's in Birmingham, like you're not going to Atlanta or something.
Yeah. They went to Atlanta one year.
For Winter Jam? Okay, let me see. Okay, we're gonna have some people out. Let's see. I know that the crops are in Brazil and will be for next week or two, so we won't have them here with us. Which I guess means somebody else is teaching Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Carol's teaching Spanish.
Did she know Spanish?
Well,
Exactly.
she can kind of dabble in a lot of different subjects.
I learned how to say raccoon in Spanish.
Raccoon? I don't know how to say raccoon.
Mapache.
Say it again.
Mapache.
It sounds like you're talking about your dad or something.
I don't know,
Okay.
but it's a raccoon. Because there are these people that come to our church and we teach them English and they teach us Spanish.
Okay.
They're probably like illegal immigrants or something, but
Never know. Never know. You can't just assume. You never know. Okay. Well, I guess we're gonna go ahead and get rolling, and whoever comes in. We'll start with a very small classroom. Start with a very small class. Okay. Adverbs. What does an adverb tell? Come on, some of y'all did jingles with me for 3 years. An adverb tells and, how, when, where, and sometimes why. I know y'all know this. Okay, so a prepositional phrase. What's a prepositional phrase?
it is a phrase with a preposition at the beginning.
Yes.
A noun.
Yes.
Yeah.
A preposition to the next noun or pronoun is a prepositional phrase. And those can be used in several different ways. But a lot of times a prepositional phrase is used as an adverb to tell how or when or where or sometimes why, right? Okay. I really don't want to go over prepositional phrases because I think that y'all can identify those from those 3 years of middle school. Thank you for nodding your head. I appreciate that. Well, okay. I'm not going to say what I was. Yeah. Moving on past that. An adverb phrase can be used to start a sentence, or it can be used anywhere in the middle of a sentence, and an adverb clause also. But we've talked about this before. If you start your sentence with a prepositional phrase, an adverb phrase, an adverb clause, which I'm fixing to put on the board. Come in. An adverb clause starting the beginning of your sentence is really going to be a dependent clause. That's the way it's going to be used. Let me show you what I mean. So, let me start with a prepositional phrase because that's what I mentioned first. After the game, waited pizza. Okay, Can y'all see this color? Is that okay? Okay, after the game, we ate pizza. So first you identify the subject of the sentence. Where's the subject? We, all right? This is the subject. This is the main verb. We ate pizza. There's your independent clause. This can stand by itself, right? After is a preposition. So you have after. This is the way I would have done it in middle school. Circle the after the game. So you have preposition to the next noun is a prepositional phrase. If you start your sentence with a prepositional phrase, you have to put a comma behind it. If you flip this around and say we ate pizza after the game, then your prepositional phrase is at the end and you don't need any punctuation before it. Welcome, buddy. A new 16-year-old, right? Happy birthday. You had a birthday over the break. Leela had a birthday over the break. Anybody else? No? When's your birthday? August. Before we start school. So, okay. You're always quiet. I didn't know what you might answer me. All right, so we had 2 birthdays over the break. Happy birthday, guys. Back to prepositional phrases. So this is a phrase, but if I start with an adverb clause, like, okay, come on in, girls. All right, so what is the difference in this and this? What's the difference? What's the difference in this one and this one? There's a verb.
There's a subject.
There's a subject and a verb. Yes. So this is a clause where a phrase does a phrase can sometimes have a verb or a noun in it, but a clause has both a subject and a verb. So after we played the game, this is an adverb clause. Can it stand by itself just like that? No, because it depends on more, right? It depends on, good morning, Leela. It depends on more information to stand alone. It can't stand like this. So after we played the game, we ate pizza. This can still stand by itself. So this is independent. It doesn't need anything else. You can just say we ate pizza and that's fine. You don't need anything else for that clause. But if you have the dependent clause first, you have to have a comma after it. And then your independent comes. If you flip it the other way around and you say we ate pizza after we played the game, then you don't need a comma between them. Does that make sense? Okay, it's dependent and independent clauses. All right, any questions about that? Because I think we've marked some of that stuff before. No questions? How was your break? Good break? Good break? Yeah? Okay, well, maybe we will warm up a little bit. Maybe we'll warm up a little bit. We're a little out of rhythm. That's okay. Would we all still rather be at home in our pajamas? Maybe. Okay, this is something that I haven't talked about yet this year. I've mentioned it before. I don't know if I talked about this in the middle school or not. Active voice and passive voice. Y'all remember that? Anybody?
I remember a little bit.
You just remember hearing the
Yeah.
active voice and passive voice. This is sort of the mode of writing that you are choosing for your sentence. So, an active voice sentence is a sentence where the subject of the sentence is actually doing something. Okay. Passive is going to be where the subject of your sentence is being acted upon, but it's not actually doing anything. Right. So let's say rode her scooter. A girl rode her scooter. She's being active, right? This is an action verb. Yes? Morning, buddy. So, let's say, there was a girl on a scooter. What is the girl doing here?
Wasn't.
She's wasing. This is a state of being verb. This is not an action verb. So if I were to flip this around, a girl was there on a scooter. She's not doing anything. There's no action here. It's just a girl was there. Was where. So what is this? It's an adverb. It's an adverb. So if you're starting your sentence with an adverb, you're just inverting it. You're putting the subject here. So you've got adverb, verb, subject. You've got an inverted order, and the girl is not active at all. Okay, this is a passive voice sentence, where this is an active voice because the subject of the sentence is actually doing something. Does that make sense the way I'm saying that? Okay, so passive, there are times that you need to use the passive voice. But if you overuse it, then the passive voice lends itself to very boring writing. It just does. So I don't think I've said it in the high school yet this year, but on the middle school stuff, I said it a lot, and I put it on assignment sheets. Don't start a sentence with there. Don't start a sentence with there, or there was, or once there was, because it's basically the same thing. Use some action. Okay, so let me give you something that I would want you to change. Short sentence. Spaghetti was served. Where's the subject of this sentence? Spaghetti is the subject of the sentence. What is the spaghetti doing? It's being served, but is the spaghetti actually doing something itself, or is it being acted upon? It's being acted upon, so this is passive. The subject of the sentence is not doing anything. It's being acted upon. Somebody else is serving the spaghetti, right? So the subject of the sentence is not doing anything. This is a passive voice, all right? Sorry, y'all. Spaghetti slipped off the plate. Now, what is the spaghetti doing? It's doing something. There's an action verb there. The subject of the sentence is doing something. This is an active voice sentence. Does that make sense? The way I'm saying that? The subject of your sentence has to actually be doing something in active voice. Otherwise, you have a passive voice sentence. Was a bird outside my window. There was a bird outside my window. Okay? Passive. It's a passive voice because the verb is was. The bird is wasing here. It's just being. It's just being here. There's no action. So how can you change this? What action can you give for the bird to do so that this is an active voice sentence? Somebody give me a verb. Sitting. Sitting. The bird was sitting. Yes. It's an action verb, then your subject is actually doing something and not just existing there. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Active voice and passive voice. Don't start a sentence with the word there if you can help it. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes it works and you need to have a passive sentence. But if you overuse the passive voice, it's not fun to read. And it's no fun for you to write. It's no fun for you to write something in a passive, just completely in a passive voice. Okay. Any questions about that? I will touch on that again, I'm sure. Let's see. All right, I don't think I want to keep going with that right now. Okay. Now I'm going to shift gears into writing and style and story building. Okay, so when you're writing a story, you are responsible for building your setting, for building the world that your characters exist in. So, and it may be our world, so all the same rules apply. But if you are kind of reaching outside of that, you have to know the rules of your world. So imagine that everything is made of paper. All the characters are made of paper. Who's in charge in this world? What are the rules? What does bad look like? What does good look like? What is a status symbol if everything is made of paper? So in our world, in the real world, there are all kinds of status symbols. What's a status symbol in our world? Money. Money, certain kinds of cars, certain big toys, you know, all kinds of stuff. If you have a world where everything is made of paper, what's the status symbol? Rocks?
Paper
What?
clips.
No, everything is
Paper rocks.
paper. What?
Okay. So, okay, paper clips.
They're very fashion forward.
There you go. Paper clips. All right, if you have a paper clip. That's funny. So, what does it look like for one character to gain power over another character if everybody's made of paper? What are they afraid of? What does tearing, ripping, the wind, fire, you know, what does it look like for a new character to be born or for a character to die? You know, what does it look like when you're creating a new world or something, you know, just setting the scene in your imagination? Think through what are the rules of this place and what does it look like, and you have to be consistent. You have to carry it to the end. Like, do animals talk? Do animals talk? You can't change it halfway through. What does it look like? Think about the rules of your world, and whatever that looks like, you need to be consistent. So okay, even in a world that you create, you need to have a difference between good and evil. You need to have a right side and a wrong side. And it's kind of just in the last, I don't know, I think maybe in the last 10 or 12 years that I can think of, we're kind of sliding into this thing where the bad guys, the villains, are really just misunderstood. They're really just misunderstood. They're not really bad. They're just kind of misunderstood. Do y'all remember that, what was it called? The play where the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz was not really, she was actually the good character?
Wicked?
Yeah, that's it. Did you go to that?
No, I just remember seeing billboards for it in New York.
I went to that with my mom and sister, and they had turned the story in such a way that the Wicked Witch was the one who had been mistreated all along. She was just really misunderstood. She wasn't evil. That's that's really kind of been a trend in a lot of literature and a lot of movies. And you want to make the bad guy not really bad. You know, if you they're kind of removing this scale of good on one side and evil on the other side. There's really no such thing. There's just you know, you're for this team and I'm for this team, and who's to say what's right? And this one's red and this one's blue, and but there's really no stark contrast between good and evil, and you really have to have that, because if you give up the idea that something really is good and something really is evil, then you don't have a standard. Your character doesn't have a standard outside of himself or herself, and it kind of loses its integrity. Okay, so the bad guys really really always need to be bad, and your good guys really always need to be good. That doesn't mean that the good character can't do something that's wrong and that the bad character can't do something that's right. And so I'm fixing to lead into villains. I want to talk about villains, but in your story, your villain really needs to be the villain. It can't just be misunderstood. There are a couple of, when I was going through this and thinking about how I wanted to say this, there were a couple of things that came to my mind where movies have taken this and kind of flipped it on its head. Despicable Me. Gru is a bad guy, right? Right? Yeah, you're shaking your head no, because they actually turn him into a good guy. But at the beginning of it, you see him, you know, popping some kid's balloon, and then, you know, with his big whatever kind of vehicle, he, you know, shoots fire out of the back of it and blows the kid's balloon up. However that happened, I don't remember now. But and then he's laughing when the kid loses his ice cream, and he's just a dirty scoundrel. You know, he's just a dirty guy. You don't want to be friends with him. He's a bad guy. But they turn him into something that is good. You know, they turn him into the good guy. Who is his adversary?
Vector.
Vector. Is that his name? Vector.
V.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to lead into, I'm going into villains here, but I want to talk about the differences between likable villains and really hateable villains. Okay. A likable villain, you know, he's a bad guy. Vector's is a bad guy. He doesn't, he's not for anybody's good. He's definitely on the bad end. But he's a likable bad guy. He makes you laugh. You want to see him on the screen. He's dumb. He is dumb, but he makes you kind of chuckle with how dumb he is. Contrast that with Cruella de Vil. There's nothing funny about her. She's just mean, right? She's just mean. Now, the two henchmen that work for her, they're bad guys too. But it's not the same, because you're seeing these guys sitting in the abandoned house wherever they are, and they're watching a little talk show. They're watching a talk show, and neither one of them really wants to kill these puppies. They're supposed to do it, so they're going to do the job, but they don't want to. They want to finish their show first. And so they're kind of likable, and you can relate to guys like that, where you cannot relate to Cruella de Vil because she's just mean. She's just mean. And so when you want to create, I'm going to give you some tips for creating a likable villain. Okay. And I'm just going to give you a couple of other examples. Just from cartoons, because I don't know what all y'all have read, and so it might be a little bit hard for me to just talk about characters in literature, because we've all read different stuff. I don't know what all y'all have read. The Roadrunner and the Coyote. Right? This goes all the way back to when you were little. The coyote is always trying to catch this roadrunner. So the coyote is the bad guy. We're going to say he's the bad guy. The coyote is the bad guy. He wants to, and he's always trying to catch this roadrunner. but he's doing stuff that makes you laugh. He falls and you know, things land on his head and you expect that he's dead, and no, he's not. He just comes right back. But he's setting traps for this roadrunner, and he's the bad guy here. He's supposed to be the bad guy, but you don't hate him. You don't hate him. You actually like to see what he's gonna do. He's a likable bad guy. Okay, Tom and Jerry. Same thing with Tom and Jerry. You like to see what Tom is gonna do. You like to see what Tom is gonna do, and he never wins. But he comes close. You know, he gets close to doing away with Jerry, but he never wins. He's the bad guy here, but he's not somebody that you hate. You don't hate this bad guy because they've written it in such a way that he's funny. It gets your attention. He's funny. You want to see what happens between the characters. How do I want to say this? A good villain is going to force the hero to raise their game. A good villain is going to meet the hero's strengths at every turn. Let's see. Think about, have y'all seen, and this is completely different from what I've been talking about, the Batman movie that has Joker in it. Have y'all seen
Ledger?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like Heath Ledger.
You just like Heath Ledger. Okay. So, in that movie, in the Batman movie that has the Joker in it with Heath Ledger, he's a mean Joker. He is mean. He's really good, but he's funny, but he's also very intelligent. And so when he's talking to Batman, he's meeting his arguments. And so there's no way that Batman can win by the normal ways, like his little his mask and his tools that he uses. That's not enough. That's not enough to get to Joker. He's got to raise his game because the Joker is smart. He's smart and he's willing to have these really intellectual arguments, and he challenges Batman in a way that he has not been challenged before. Do you know what I'm saying? He's really smart and he's very charismatic, and you actually want to see him on the screen. You want to see what he's going to do. He's a good villain. Do what? No, you're not talking to me. Okay. You actually want to, he's a really good villain. He's a match for Batman. And that's what you want your villain to be. When you write in a bad guy, you want your bad guy to be able to match the strength of the villain. One of the worst things that it's just silly. Sometimes you have a bad guy on the screen and then, you know, they're all powerful and everybody's scared of them until the hero comes along, and then they're like these wilting little flowers that can't do anything, and it's just dumb. It makes your hero look like he doesn't have to work to defeat. Okay. Megamind. Have y'all seen Megamind? Megamind. All right, so it's the same kind of thing where Megamind actually becomes the hero. But in the beginning of it, you have, sorry, y'all. Sorry. No, sorry. Abby,
Yes.
I'm going to need you to turn my volume down when that stops ringing. Yeah. Okay, what was I talking about? Megamind. Okay, so at the beginning of Megamind, you have the hero of the city. He's Metro Man. Basically, he's like Superman. He can do all the things that Superman can do. And it's this constant battle between Megamind and Metro Man. But Megamind is big and bad and scary, and everybody sort of trembles. But then as soon as Metro Man shows up, Megamind starts fumbling around and he can't get anything right, and he's nervy. Okay, well, when they wrote that, they did it on purpose. They're making him look kind of silly on purpose. He's not a good villain, right? They're making him kind of a weak villain on purpose because they're fixing to change him to the hero. Okay, it's a really funny movie. If y'all haven't seen Megamind, it's funny. But what you want from your villain is you want your villain to match the strength of your hero so that your hero has to rise above that. Your hero has to come to the end of himself and figure out how to overcome whatever the villain is throwing at him. Okay. And in some of the better books that you read and the stories that you watch, you're going to see this. Oh, Little House on the Prairie. Did y'all ever read any of those or watch the old shows? Does anybody come to mind in that as the villain?
The little
crop
girl.
Yeah.
Nellie.
What a dude.
Nellie. Yes. She's the villain. She's the villain. So Laura is the hero of the story. And Nellie is the one who is constantly. You got something to say? What is it?
One of those hair was curly. It got too curly one day and she started crying. She looked like like she had an emotional breakdown.
You don't look like Nellie. Okay. You don't. Anyway, Laura Ingalls is the hero of the story, and Nellie is the one who is she's always the problem, right? She's just mean. She's just mean. And sometimes your villain can have some redeeming qualities. They can be really charismatic, or they can be really intelligent, or they can be funny. I don't remember that from Nellie. I just remember she's a brat. She's just kind of.
Made nice after she did something really horrible.
He did make nice.
Yeah. In front of parents.
Okay, yeah. She didn't mean it though, right?
No.
She had to apologize, but she didn't mean it. She's just mean. There's not anything redeeming about her. So, if you want your villains to be kind of likable, first you need to make sure that you're introducing your villains by showing their strength. They're not weak. Whatever they're doing, they can be a match for the hero. Okay, your villain needs to have some strength. You need to introduce them that way. Your villain needs to be motivated by something, right? You don't have to have a lot of backstory. It doesn't take a whole lot of backstory, but you need to know what your villain wants. Your readers need to know what your villain is trying to do. In Despicable Me, Vector just wants the moon, right? He wants to get the moon before Gru, and that's pretty much it. You don't have a whole lot of backstory. You don't need it. All you need to know is what he's after, right? Do what? He wants approval. Yeah, he wants approval from his dad. Okay. Another thing that you can do is you can occasionally let your villain outsmart the hero. Let the villain outsmart the hero sometimes. Let them come out on top. Maybe not all the way to the end, but maybe at the end. There's a Rocky movie. Have y'all seen the Rocky movies? So there's a Rocky movie where he's fighting Apollo. Do you remember that one? No?
No, not the god.
Okay, he's fighting Apollo. And at the end of it, Rocky loses. He loses the match. He loses the match, but he winds up winning in other areas because his relationship with his wife is stronger.
Which Rocky movie
This is the one where he fights Apollo. I mean, maybe 3. I don't know, 2 or 3. Is it 3? Yeah. Well, no, they're not all the same because in the next one, there's the big Rocky and Apollo actually are friends, and then he fights the big Russian guy, the big Russian guy with the blonde hair and the spiky. You remember that one? Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm gonna talk about that when I get to really hateable bad guys. Sometimes you have a villain who can not only outsmart the hero, but he can outsmart the authorities. He beats the authorities. And it's okay to have your villain be able to overcome the authorities too at the beginning, all right? Somehow the hero has to rise above that, okay? If you can make your villain clever or funny or, just a people kind of person, maybe he doesn't pop the kid's balloon. Maybe he gives the kid an ice cream. Maybe there's something redeeming about your evil character. That is a way to make them somewhat likable. You don't have to make a likable villain, but you can. Let's see. Sometimes you will have an evil character who has minions, just a lesser set of evil people working for him or her, and the lesser ones get punished. The one in charge kind of punishes the other ones, which is satisfying to an audience. Going back to that Batman movie, there is a guy, and I don't remember the names because it's been a long time since I've seen it, but there is a guy who's working for Bruce Wayne. There's a little guy who's working for Bruce Wayne, and he's seeing some discrepancies. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's seeing some discrepancies in some numbers or something, and he's about to try to out Batman, or he wants some money or something like that. Do you remember that? And somehow later, this guy goes on TV and he wants to out Bruce Wayne. And I can't even remember exactly what happens to him, but the Joker shuts him down.
Why?
I can't even remember how he does it, but the Joker basically punishes that guy, which is what the audience wants. You don't want some little weasel being able to put your hero out of commission, right?
But why?
Why what?
Joker.
I can't remember how that worked. I can't remember why the Joker was going after him. I can't remember exactly how it worked, but I know that guy, he was a bad little twerp. But he was not the main villain, but he was just, he was a villain twerp. And so the Joker actually puts him out of the picture, which is what you want. I mean, it's satisfying for the audience to see the bad guys go away. If you can give your villain a fun catchphrase, or some interesting personality quirks, or some physical ticks, something that they do all the time, it's enough to keep your audience interested. Okay? And likable, especially if they have their own. Joker definitely has his own style. Batman's gonna hit him and he's gonna laugh. Nothing really phases him. The way that Batman normally works is not gonna help, because he doesn't care about the things that most bad guys care about. He lights money on fire. He lights money on fire because he doesn't care about that stuff. His point is to try to say, you think that there are good people and bad people, but there aren't really good people and bad people. They're all just the same, and I can turn them to what I am. They're all like me. So it doesn't matter what Batman does, because the Joker's gonna laugh. He's gonna laugh about being thrown off a building. He's gonna laugh about that. And so Batman has to figure out how to get past some of those quirks that the Joker has. He has to figure out how to beat him when he's not working like other villains. He doesn't do the same things. Okay, how to make your villain hateable. You can make a villain really hateable, but they need to feel just really disgusting. There's nothing redeemable about them. Nellie, there's nothing that you like about her. She's not funny. There's nothing that makes you want to see more of her, except that you want to see Laura beat her. You want to see Laura come out on top. The Russian boxer. You want to see Rocky beat him, because before Rocky fights this guy, Rocky's friend Apollo, a different boxer, has been in the ring with this big Russian bad guy. And the Russian kills him. He kills him in the ring. And so there's an interview afterward. Maybe he doesn't die right there, but maybe he dies later. I don't know. But there's an interview. Their camera is on this guy, and they've asked him a question. How do you feel about this? How will you feel if he dies? And the Russian said, if he dies, he dies. He doesn't care. No feeling. And this is disgusting. So, if you want to make your bad guy really hateable, you can't make him funny. You can't make him funny. You can't give him any kind of redeeming qualities. Um, you can give them an advantage. Give them some kind of unfair advantage. So you see Rocky training, you see the Russian guy training, but Rocky's just out running in the snow. He's running in the snow. He's punching the trees or whatever he does. I don't know what he's doing. The Russian has all this high-tech equipment. He's got all the fancy stuff, and he's using steroids. So he's pumping himself full of unfair advantage. Yes, he's given himself an unfair advantage. So,
Well, why doesn't Rocky just use more steroids?
because
Give him the
Rocky's,
roid race.
because Rocky's a good
They
guy.
don't know me, son.
Because Rocky's the good guy. All right, what you need to give, if you want your villain to be really hateable and really dirty, you need to give them some kind of advantage that they did not earn. Another one. Do y'all know Braveheart?
Yeah.
Y'all know Braveheart? Longshanks, the king. He's terrible. He's terrible. What's wrong? You don't want to hear it?
No. Because I wanted the experience all to myself. No spoilers.
I won't. I'm not going to give you the story, Leela, but I'm telling you, you find this out at the very beginning of the movie. Longshanks is terrible. He's a wicked, cruel guy who enjoys other people's misery. He enjoys other people's pain. And so you can give that to you got to have I was listening to a blog or something like that, and one guy called it a kick the dog moment. Your villain needs to have a kick the dog moment where you just hate, yeah, I know, you got your lip sticking out, it's so sad. But that's what you want your reader or your whatever kind of audience you have, that's what you want them to feel. You really hate this guy that kicks the dog because there's no reason for it. You don't need to just enjoy somebody else's pain. Do what? Umbridge from Harry Potter. Do y'all know Harry Potter? Some of y'all don't. Some of y'all know it, some of you don't. Umbridge is really, really bad.
She's so horrifying.
She's terrible. I think part of what makes her bad, part of what makes us hate Umbridge, is that she's a woman. I think part of
we're all little misogynists.
Part of what makes her bad is that she's a woman and we expect her to have some sort of maternal compassion. We don't expect that from Voldemort. We don't expect that Voldemort will be tender.
Well, Voldemort, I don't mind him because when he was younger, he was not so awful, and it was okay, you're a terrible person, but you got some charm to you, and then he loses his nose and it's all over.
The charm is all in the nose.
The nose pushed him over the edge.
Okay, well you do get more backstory. You do get more backstory from Voldemort. And you don't really get backstory for Umbridge. You don't really know.
But we would hate her just as much.
You would hate her anyway, because regardless of somebody's backstory, even in real life, regardless of somebody's backstory, you have to choose how you behave. You have to choose what kind of person you're going to be. I can look back at even people in my family. Some of them had really, really tough things that they had to deal with. And some of them did well with it, and some of them just became mean. And
Some of them married their brother-in-law.
Oh.
That's Dad's side of the family, okay?
What are you talking about? No, we can't talk about this right now. I don't know what you're talking about, but you're slandering us. Oh, no, we don't even know who that is. Yeah, we don't even know. Let's not talk about that. Don't laugh at her, y'all. You're just encouraging her. Don't laugh at that. What was I talking about? Bad guys. Longshanks. At some point, you want your villain to get what they have coming. Are y'all okay?
I'm sorry.
Okay. You got to get a grip. Whatever it is, you got to get a grip. All right, you want your villain to get what they've got coming to them. Toward the end, your villain has to have some sort of a comeuppance. You know, they have to eat their own cooking. You know, at some point, your hero has to be able to stick it to the villain. The audience wants to see the villain get what they've earned. Right? Okay, so your villain, if you want to make him hateable,
Make him a woman.
maybe. If you want your villain to be really hateable, make your villain a woman. Maybe.
Make her abuse little children.
That would be. That's what Umbridge does. That's why we hate her. What? Okay. Your villain, if you want your villain to be hateable, your villain cannot be charismatic. Your villain cannot be a people person. There's nothing redeeming. They need to have a kick the dog moment. They need to be really disgusting. You need to be disgusted by this character if you want that character to be really hateable. Okay? All right. So, I do want to talk about some villain cliches. Some villain cliches. All right, I did I did talk about this one at just earlier, where you have a villain who really is very powerful. Just everybody's afraid of this villain until the hero shows up, and then the villain is just powerless. You know, they get nervy, like Leva said, they get nervy and they can't think straight, and all their words come out wrong, and they can't hold their weapon correctly, and Megamind. But she's zinging you there. She's zinging you there. Okay, so I don't even know what movie this came from, but there was this little clip where this gunman is kind of roaming through the town and shooting everybody in his path, and you got this group of kids who are trying to and I don't even know this movie, but these kids are trying to overcome this bad guy, and he's all decked out in a mask and some kind of armor, and he's got this big gun, and he's just shooting everybody. And so at one point he kind of corners one of the heroes, one of the group. But instead of shooting her right away, something malfunctions and can't quite get it to work, and so somebody else comes up behind the guy, and then they're all able to get away. Because he was big and bad until the moment when he had the hero there, and then he couldn't do anything. And the makers of this weren't trying to make it funny. They were just trying to give an out to this hero so they could get away. But it kind of falls flat, because then the hero didn't do anything to earn that escape. They didn't earn it. If you're going to put your hero in a situation like that where they're up against a really strong villain, they need to earn their way out. You know, they need to figure out how to get out of there without the villain looking stupid. You know, without the villain just looking incompetent, because then you just have a weak spot there. Let's see. In a lot of movies, you have this moment where the villain says, "Join me. Join me. Come to the dark side and join me, and we will rule this. We'll rule the galaxy," or whatever. And a lot of times those join me proposals are just silly, because you know that the hero is going to turn it down. Now, when you said the dark side, that one actually is not so bad, where Darth Vader is saying to Luke, "Join me," because it's not that they're just sitting on a park bench somewhere and they're having this conversation and he's saying, "Join me." No, Darth Vader has backed him into a corner. He's backed him into a corner. He's beaten him. He's cut off his hand. And Luke really has no way out. So it's not join me because I really think we work well together. It's not that. It's not join me because you're powerful and I'm powerful and hey, we make a great team. And no, you have one of those in Spider-Man. In one of the Spider-Man movies, you have something like that. where the goblin flies, you know, the guy that flies around, he wants Spider-Man to join him. Yeah. But in the Darth Vader scene where he's saying join me, it's either you join me or you die. Because you have to jump down through this hole that leads to, it's just space. There's nothing down there. So you either join me. I've already beaten you. I've already cut off your hand. I'm fixing to kill you if you don't join me, or you jump down through this hole. And so that one works because the hero is boxed into a corner and has to make an impossible decision, right? It's either lose this way or lose this way. The hero is forced into a decision where there's really no win. So if the other ship, I can't even remember who comes and gets him, but somebody catches him, right? Somehow. Anyway, he makes it, but he doesn't expect to make it. He expects to die for this decision to not join. Anyway. Let's see another one. Oh, okay. Okay. A fatal monologue. Occasionally you have the villain who will, he has the hero. He has him. But then he stops to make this monologue, and then he loses.
Stupid.
Right. Okay.
He's prideful, that's why.
He's prideful. All right, let me see if I've got anything else I need to give you. Okay. So basically, when you're writing a villain, your villain needs to be believable. Your antagonist needs to be believable. So you gotta have a guy or a woman who
The dog, bro.
he kicks the dog. Somebody kicks the dog or abuses the kid or laughs when the ice cream falls on the ground or something like that. You know, you gotta have somebody that you really.
Just a crap sock.
I don't know what you just said.
Crap sock?
What is that?
A sock full of crap, but as a person.
That's a thing.
It's a Nathan and
Never
Sarah
in my
thing,
life
sorry.
have I heard that.
That's because it's not something people say.
And yet, here you go saying it. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Anybody have any questions about this? No questions. You got questions? Okay. Okay. So we're a few minutes early. I'm going to give you your assignment sheet. And I did not bring in a sentence activity, but I think I have one that I'll send to you through email. All right. Go that way. Colin, you go that
I
way.
thought Polo was about to smack himself in
Put it down. Your arm gets tired.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There we go.
Thank you. All right.
Good job, Polo. Whoa. Calling in. I'm the wrong person.
Oh my good golly gee.
All right. Any questions? Be free.
Did you just figure out the all caps feature?
Be free.
That was easy.